The Brown Park Podcast is brought to you by Grow Clinics. They're Australia's leading hair transplant clinics, and you can go to growclinics.com.au. Hello.
G'day, mates.
Today, we have a very special guest on our show. He's a singer by the name of Sam Fischer, who has songs like this.
The city's gonna break my heart. The city's gonna love me, then leave me alone.
And
'Cause I can lie about whatever you say. I get high on you.
And this.
I'm gonna be alright, I'll say 1,000 times until it takes over my mind. And I think I'm gonna be alright.
Look, we could keep going and doing all of this because he's written a lot of songs for other people as well. He's going to join us on the show for a chat.
The Brown Park Podcast.
so question going into this podcast.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
You recently have shared on your social media about your CD that you released when you were younger. And
Yep.
you continue to write music, which you record and, you sort of drop sporadically.
Yeah. And the theme of this podcast is actually mine.
Well, there you go. So
Yeah, it's on Spotify.
the question is,
Yeah.
how long are you going to stick with it for until you give up?
Oh, man. It's funny that you should say that because I've actually been sent one of my new songs today, like this morning, literally before we've jumped on this podcast.
Yeah.
I've been sent the final cut of it.
Can we hear a little bit now? Just a little bit?
Not yet.
Oh,
I'm not ready to share it.
but I mean, when I ask when you'll give up, because I want you to never give up, because this podcast we're going into now with Sam Fischer is proof that things can blow up a couple of years down the track.
You're going to love this chat. It's Sam Fischer from his in-laws' basement in Virginia.
That's when you know you've made it. So let's get into it with Sam Fischer.
The Brown Park Podcast.
Sam Fischer, welcome to the show.
G'day, mates.
Yes, mate. Man, it's so good to talk to you guys. So good to meet you for the second time, right?
Yeah, I think we've spoken somewhere along the way because I do radio and you've had a bunch of songs that have all been very radio friendly. So I think we have communicated at some point. But the interesting thing, so first off, you're in the basement of your in-laws' house in Virginia.
Yeah, let's get into that.
Can we? Why are you there?
Why am I here? You know what? You've caught me at like kind of an interesting time in my life. I feel like I'm at kind of a crossroads because I have just left LA.
Yep.
I was there for a decade, and LA kind of represents a lot of everything that's gone wrong for me, but also provided so many highlights.
Yeah.
And so we are my wife and I are kind of on our way to the UK, and I'm going to be splitting time between Australia and the UK. So This is kind of the middle ground, but getting to London, saving money, and LA, honestly, we had an apartment there. It was so expensive. It was basically burning money because we were never there. And it just got to the point where we were like, okay, F this. We're going to go and shack up with the in-laws for a hot second and then head over to London.
LA's a bit of a beast, right? We spoke to Sam Webb in the last episode and he just said LA is just full on. So unless you're mentally in the right space, LA can mess you up, right?
LA is a beast for sure. I mean, look, I think any major city, as long as you have a schedule, as long as you know what you're doing day to day and you have a good group of people around you, you'll be okay. I think for me over the last couple of years, LA was where I was stuck during the pandemic and also where, my career exploded during the pandemic. So it was this kind of, I don't know, I've been signed, I've been dropped. Every horrible thing that can happen to someone in the music industry happened to me in LA.
Yeah.
So it's this weird thing, I have kind of a trauma bond with LA because it gives so much when it wants to. And when it does give, you feel like a superstar.
Yeah.
But when it doesn't, you feel like absolute crap.
Well, for those that don't know your journey, you've written so many songs for a bunch of people behind the scenes, but only in the last couple of years got out in front of the microphone and went, you know what, I can do this. I'm going to be the person in front because your voice is truly fucking amazing. And the songs you write are great. Like they're fucking amazing as well. But it's, I can see why LA would, particularly in the music biz, would be a tidal wave.
Yeah, I mean, a tidal wave is a good way of putting it. And the other thing is, when this city started to go crazy, and then people realized, okay, this isn't just like a local thing. This is going worldwide. Every door on planet Earth opened for me, and every big exec at every company was like ready to embrace me. And I don't know, you fall into that trap of like I've made it. Here's my fucking hit. Like shit's good now. And then obviously the pandemic happened, and so it was really bittersweet because I was like, on the outside, I'm like, fuck yeah, everything's amazing. We're fucking killing it. And then on the inside, I'm like, it is 3 a.m. and I'm wearing a Gucci suit that doesn't fit me, and I'm up for my first aria on Zoom.
Yeah.
It's just been a mind fuck, but I'm grateful for the things that have happened, and I've worked my ass off to get to where I am. But it definitely it hasn't come without some mental health just kind of, I don't know, beating.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, because you've spoken about how difficult COVID was for you, and that played havoc with your mental health. Can you tell us about that for a sec?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. I've been trying to not launch into like a whole speech on how like fucked it all was at my shows. Because people don't want to hear that. I want people to come to my shows and have a good time and just enjoy the music. But for you guys, I will launch it in.
Yeah, launch. Go for it.
Dive deep. Come on, let us
twist the keys. Let's go. That's what
you can bring us down. You can bring us down. This isn't a show. We're happy to.
Oh, look. So I was in LA for 10 years. I've been signed. I've been dropped. I've worked with some horrible people. I've been very lucky to meet some amazing people. I think that the last, when I wrote This City, I was in my first record deal, and I sent it into the my label president, and I got a response 2 days later, and all it said was, "It's pretty."
It's pretty.
Pretty.
I was like, okay, cool.
Pretty good.
I was like, yeah, exactly. I was like, cool, I'll go fuck myself, and you keep going, mate. Anyway, I got dropped shortly after I wrote This City, and
hang on, sorry.
Yeah,
This City was a monster of a fucking song.
Yeah, but I wrote it in 2017.
Yeah,
and I got dropped from my record deal in like August of 2017, and then I put out This City in January of 2018. And when I put out This City, no one gave a shit. Like,
really,
far out.
It was nuts. Like, Megan Trainor and Lewis Capaldi posted it because we were mates, and that was really cool. But like the first year, This City did 4 million streams on Spotify, which like at the time I was like, let's fucking go, 4 million streams. And then the second year it did 200 million.
Wow.
And,
shit. Yeah.
But the guy I was signed to was very, very abusive, very, very emotionally manipulative, and
was this a record label, or was this
this was a record
manager
label.
or
This was a record label. I was the only artist signed to the label. It was a joint venture with Columbia in the States, and this guy really just decimated my confidence, and I went through a full identity crisis, and I just kind of, I begged to be dropped. 6 months in, I begged my management to stop him from having any communication with me. And, I begged to be dropped, and he wouldn't, and 3 months later he did. And I was like, cool, I'm going to put out this EP independently, and then fuck being an artist because it's too much. I'm just going to like settle for writing for others. And
by that time you would have already had a bit of a fan base anyway, wouldn't you? You would have established a fan, like, because that's how you grow.
Yeah. I mean, I had people who knew my music because I'd put out some independent stuff, but when I signed my record deal, I had one song out.
Yeah.
And it was the worst fucking deal as well. Everyone in my life was saying, don't do it. But I was dead broke and it was $30,000. It was $30,000 for 4 albums, which
Wow.
is, for people who don't know what that is, that means that $30,000 has to cover the period that it takes me to deliver 4 albums, which could be like 10 years.
Yeah.
And so thankfully, and in the year that I was signed there, I was not allowed to put out anything. I wrote 200 songs, not allowed to put out anything. And so getting dropped in hindsight was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
But at the time, it fucking sucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I didn't want to be an artist anymore. And I put out This City, and January 2018, no one cared. And I was like, right, cool. Great. Universe is telling me, just be a writer. And so I was hustling for a long time as a writer, and I was getting somewhere. And right as that was starting to go, my writing career was starting to go, This City all of a sudden started to do numbers in like January 2019. And I was like, well, what's going on? And then I ended up, you know, it ended up going massively viral. I learned about a new app called TikTok, and that blew it up. And, you know, day after my wedding, I went on tour with Lewis Capaldi. And then the day after that, it got its first playlist. And then in October or November of that year, I signed to RCA. And then for 3 months, my life was like, you're a superstar. The whole world, like I was about to go on a fucking global promo trip. I was going to be flown first class from Sydney to fucking Stockholm on Emirates.
Oh,
which,
yes.
If you don't know, that's a sweep in the sky.
That's
you know
good,
what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a real bummer. And then, you know, a once in a generation pandemic came and shut that down. So
God.
it's been a lot of stop start. And I have to think that everything that I've done and the fact that I'm still here has to mean something. But yeah, you know, the last 3 years have been crazy. I've been really lucky. But I think it's hard with social media when your brand is supposed to be, I'm everybody's friend and I'm having such a good time and I'm the relatable guy. And I'm just like, whatever, I'm chilling. I'm cool. I'm good. I write about relatable shit. And then on the inside, I'm like really struggling and dealing with, you know, I don't know, isolation was hard on everyone.
Yeah.
I think for me, the hardest part was not being able to speak to anyone that could relate to what I was going through.
Yeah,
because what I was going through was life-changing shit in the positive. Like, you know, from a professional standpoint, having a global hit was amazing. But for me, not being able to come home during that was devastating. And, you know, I was hearing from everyone that I'd ever come across in Australia, saying, oh, I've heard your songs on the radio, in a restaurant, someone driving down the street, in the bus, in the train station, in restaurants, whatever. And I'm in LA and I'm like, wow, like, guys, it wasn't until September of last year that I heard This City on the radio for the first time.
Really?
Oh my God.
Out. Yeah.
I can show you the playlist from the station I work for, man. Far out. We hammered it.
You're up there with Ed Sheeran for a while.
I love it. I appreciate it, guys. It was unbelievable, and I'm very, very grateful for that song. And
didn't it take off because somebody chopped and screwed it on TikTok,
dude.
and they'd remixed it, and they've done what TikTok does to songs. They messed them up.
Yeah, it was like I remember I got a message on Instagram one day, and it was this guy whose account was at Lee the Fourth, and I was like, all right, here's this, and I opened this message and it's this guy being like, hey, like, I don't know if you're aware of this new app. It's called TikTok, but I'm pretty sure your song, and he thought it was called She's Always Gonna Break Your Heart. Pretty sure this song it is like the biggest song on this app right now. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So I downloaded TikTok and I like looked at this link that he sent me, and it was this video of this girl lip syncing to a version of This City that was like, this city's gonna break my heart.
Oh, went metal. Okay, went metal. Yep.
Went crazy, and my name was nowhere to be found on it, and the title of the song wasn't. And I was like, you've got to be shitting me. After all this, I'm finally going viral, and no one knows it's
No one
me.
knows it's me.
Yeah.
Far out. Yep.
So, yeah, but it just, I don't know. I can't explain it. People have asked me before, how did you make the TikTok thing happen? I'm like, I don't know.
You tell
Like,
me.
Right. I mean, it was crazy. It was like me and Doja Cat were like the two global priorities for Sony.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
It's so mental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brown Pock.
A big thank you to the lovely team at Grow Clinics.
Absolute legends.
They're Australia's most trusted hair growth clinics, and as we've said on this podcast many a time before, there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to hair loss. Now, you may want to just stop your hair from falling out. You may want to restore what you've lost, or you just might want to get what you've got and make it healthy. Grow offers all of the most effective, scientifically tried and tested hair loss treatments. They've been perfected by their team. You can look at our photos for proof of that.
Oreos.
Yeah. And they're perfected by the team of experts to deliver leading results. No matter the stage of your hair loss, they can help. They've helped thousands of Australians already, and they will continue to help more.
Jump on the Grow Diaries on Instagram. So it's grow.diaries. And then you can follow along with people's journeys that have been through the process, because everyone's journey is a little bit different. So it's good to check out those diaries and you'll know what you're in for.
And they also do the thing where you can gain credit for a hair transplant while treating your hair loss. So if you're not sure whether you want to go down into the hair restoration, you could actually go and have a look at some of the medicines that they've got, but also some of the other treatments that they've got, and earn credits towards having a future hair transplant.
What a deal.
So go and check them out, growclinics.com.au. They're Australia's most trusted hair growth clinics.
The Brown Pock Podcast.
So you're taking off pretty much in the height of COVID, or, you know, in the peak of it,
Surprising.
but you can't do anything, can you? Like you say, you can't get home, you can't go out and meet people, you're just stuck. And
I couldn't.
I mean, I've seen you say that you're a painful extrovert. So that's a worst case scenario for you, right?
Awful, like horrific. I am someone who recharges around people. And, you know, when I play shows, I like to, I don't know, when I'm on stage, I'm like a completely different person. I am the funniest version of myself. I'm the sexiest version of myself. I am the most talented person on planet Earth. And it builds your confidence up. Like it's a weird thing when you're standing on stage and you're like, to a crowd of thousands, you're like, put your hands up, and everyone puts their hands up.
Everyone does it, yeah.
It's too much power. You know,
It's a lot of power for one man to wield.
You know, and I just don't feel like anyone should ever feel that. But when you feel that, you're like, no one can touch me right now. And that kind of,
well, if you ask them to, they would, you know.
You know, well, I mean, sure.
Put your hands up and
married man.
You know. But through the pandemic, I was performing to my furniture, and my furniture doesn't clap for me.
Yeah.
So it was rough. It was weird.
So were you with your wife through the pandemic?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were in our little apartment.
How did she deal with this? Because I know, look, I suffer depression.
Yeah.
And I've suffered it. I've suffered the lows and the highs and the whatever. And my wife has been there for the ride for the entire time. But you know what you're putting them through, and you quite often sit there and go, "Are you going to hang around?" Because I know that I'm a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
Did you go through that?
Absolutely. It was so messed up. I think when you're at your lowest, and especially in a situation like isolation, there were two people in the world that knew everything that was happening and wasn't happening for me because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And they were my wife and my manager. And I took all of my, I guess, negative emotions out on them. And it was horrible. And I knew what I was doing as well. I could feel myself it was dealing with so much guilt. And you know, at the time, my wife and I were living in this disgusting 1-bedroom apartment. It was like a lofted 1-bedroom as well. So there weren't any doors.
Oh, that's tough.
So, you know, my life was wake up early, do UK promo, throughout the day, do US promo, at night, do Asian promo and then overnight do Australian promo.
Mm.
So it was horrible. You know, Erin, my wife, was confined to this tiny area of our apartment because I had like, God, I feel like such a twat, but it was like I needed the lighting and I needed the equipment and I needed the space and I needed whatever. And
But it's got to look good.
It's got to look good. And, you know, I think I forgot to acknowledge the fact that Erin was also going through a pandemic and Erin had also lost all of her work because Erin sings backgrounds for me. And we had the Nile Horan tour booked around the States. We were supposed to come back at the end of 2020 to open for Dua in Australia. We were supposed to come for the Arias. There was so much shit that we had planned. It was one of those like dream scenarios where it was like the label sat me down, were like, this is what your life looks like for the next 18 months. And I was like,
yes.
Yeah, how good's that?
Fucking
let's go.
You know? And so Erin was like, well, what the fuck do I do with my life? And yeah, I don't know. I think it was hard, and we definitely went through some just tough times, and we asked each other, we checked in with each other a lot in that we asked each other if we still wanted to be together. And that was really hard and really heavy, and we're definitely, both of us are definitely different people on the other side of the pandemic. And I think, you know, we've been together for 10 years and relationships are so hard. And the idea that you're supposed to just grow together with someone that before you were 21, 22, you'd never met before. Like the amount of different iterations of ourselves that we go through before we get to the person that this other person out in the world is choosing, and to still choose each other a decade later, it's so hard. And sometimes you have to, I don't know, grit and bear it and say to yourself, I'm still going to choose you.
You work on it.
Yeah, well,
work on it.
My wife and I have been together like 21 years now.
Hell
and
yeah.
It's the amount of iterations that you go through over that period of time. I mean, you grow at different levels, right? Sometimes somebody's growing at a faster rate than you, and then you've got to try to catch up. And if you're not catching up, then you're left behind, and then you start questioning the whole relationship. So to try and work it together at a sort of similar rate of knots, it's fucking hard.
And you're immature as fuck.
Well,
my God.
Dion.
Sam.
Dion is?
Dion's immature as fuck.
Look, I mean, I can be hard to live with. I'm similar to you in that I'm a painful extrovert, and I do some stupid shit. Say a lot of off the cuff things because I don't usually think before I speak, which can get me in trouble. So yeah, look, you know, props to my wife for still being here because it's not easy living with this old chestnut, let me tell you.
I mean, look, I get it. It's hard. Relationships are hard. I think, you know, my parents were together for 33 years before. I mean, my dad is a piece of shit and he had an affair and that all broke down. So he messed it up. But before all that, it was clear that they shouldn't be together.
Yeah.
And, you know, so the other thing that was hard is that like so many people were focused on me. And, you know, there's a level of narcissism that comes with being an artist. And to have that confined to one space that you're sharing with someone else who's also going through a pandemic.
Yeah.
It's just not a good recipe for.
So did you have like mental health issues before the pandemic, or did that trigger it? Because normally there's like, there can be a trigger point where all of a sudden you go, wow, shit, I've got a problem. Mine was children.
Sure. Okay. I definitely have struggled with bouts of depression, but I've always been quite careful to not label it depression because I think there is a difference between going through depression and just having down
and sadness
moments, you know? But there is a strange gap in and I'm working through this with my therapist, don't you worry. there is a strange gap in my memory between the ages of like 13 and 17 where I just don't remember anything.
Really?
And there are no real like videos or pictures of me. It's very, very weird. And like there are some, I know I existed. It's just, I think I went through, I was bullied really, really hard at school. And my dad also used to bully me a lot. And there were, and it was all to do with my like identity and just like who I was. And so I kind of grew up in this shame culture. And so it's a weird thing because now let's go. Like,
why was it a shame culture?
My dad created this culture of if you are this way, then you're bad.
So
basically.
artsy.
If you're, yeah, I mean, like he was homophobic, and you know, I'm at 7 years old being called the F slur. I had no idea what that was, but that's what I was being thrown at because I wanted to do musical theater and I wanted to do ballet and I wanted to do gymnastics. And my dad thought, oh, he's gay. And so that was like really like kind of just beaten into me.
Oh, at a 7-year-old, as a 7-year-old, for your father
from your
to be
parent,
saying that,
yeah,
what a piece of shit, as you said.
What a piece of shit. And it's funny like that we're doing this today. I'm glad that we're doing this today because yesterday was his birthday, and then in the States over the weekend it was Father's Day. So it's been a whole thing. But yeah, like it's hard. At 7, I have 2 nephews who are age 6, and I look at them and how innocent they are, and to think that a grown adult who would have been like not that much older than me would like yell at such an innocent little soul and tell them that the way that they were was wrong. And so I think that for me, I've always turned to art and sport. Like I was a super, super hardworking kid, and what it's kind of turned me into now is a people pleaser. And the pandemic really was a moment in time for me where I broke down. And when you break, all the pieces that you have suppressed of yourself are put right in front of you. And so I didn't start therapy until like 18 months ago.
Wow.
And
that's a lot. Well, that's a lot to deal with if you don't know how to process these feelings that have just come up.
It was a lot. I think, I don't know, when my dad had an affair the day after we found out, I just moved to England because I thought I was the problem in the family. And 3 weeks after I got there, Mum calls me and she's saying, oh, Dad's had an affair. We kicked him out. He's gone. And I was like, what the fuck? And then the next day, my dad called me and I said to myself, all right, just hear him out. People cheat. Like, it is what it is. It's fine. He's still your dad. He's still your dad. And of course I pick up the phone and I was like, oh, good you.
Launch into it. Good.
I went so hard at him, and he was like, well, I wasn't going to say this, but if you hadn't been doing all these extracurricular activities, taking your mum away from me, maybe I wouldn't have done this.
No, he did not.
Fuck
did he?
off.
Yeah. And so
Oh my
I
God.
was like, and I said to him, are you saying that I'm the reason that you went out and fucked someone else? And he was like, well, they're your words. And I was like, right, see you later.
Far out.
And so,
my
turned to alcohol, and I was abusing myself and just, it wasn't good. And, I was offered therapy then, and I took it as a huge insult.
Yeah.
Cause I was like, fuck that. I can do this myself. You know what I mean? But I am good now. Like I know that it wasn't my fault, but for a good decade after that, I was 18 when he called me and said that shit.
Yeah.
Good decade after that, I really was like, I'm the reason my whole family imploded, like whatever. And then the pandemic, I know I'm talking so much.
No, man, that's what it's about. Consider it a therapy session, a free therapy session.
Let's get Sam Fisher out in the road and open him right up.
Yeah. the pandemic with this city was such an amazing experience in many ways. But one thing that really convinced me to like just keep going was all the messages I got. Like every day. Because this city was bigger than I could have ever imagined it being. Even while it was happening, I knew it was, taken off on charts all around the world and whatever. It was all over the radio and shit. But because I wasn't out there experiencing that and traveling with the song around the world, it was, to me, it was in my apartment. And
you kind of got robbed of that experience.
Massively. Yeah.
Yeah, that I did. It sucks.
Because like I'm a wannabe songwriter, pop star, whatever when I was a kid, and still write music and shit like now, but I couldn't. The one dream is for that one song to take off, and you get flown around the world, and you get people wanting to interview you, you get all that kind of shit. So I can imagine, like, my heart breaks for you because you would have had that moment and then gone, fucking pandemic, and my brain would have exploded.
Yeah, I mean, my brain did explode. I just couldn't show it.
Can I just say, to play devil's advocate, if it wasn't for COVID, maybe you wouldn't have been dealing with these traumas or these childhood things that have come up. You may have been traveling the world, and who knows where it would have shown up for you at some point. It's going to come out at some point. So maybe it was good that it happened in that apartment during COVID.
You're not wrong. I mean, like, it forced everyone, I think, to face a bunch of shit that we were all going through. Would I have traded facing what I was going through for traveling around the world?
I think so, yeah.
Playing out the show? Hell yeah.
Flying first class Emirates? Look, I'm with you there, brother.
You know what I mean?
But you know what? You might have been on the Kyle and Jackie O show and Kyle asked you a question, then all of a sudden you've just gone, fuck you, and there's lost it all.
Oh, bless Kyle, man. You know what? Kyle was, he was super, super nice to me over the pandemic. And he even offered me like his place in LA to go stay if I ever wanted to just get away from everything. Yeah, like, he's a good egg. He's got a hard exterior, but he is very sweet.
It's so funny, right? I've never met him, but I've worked around a lot of people that have worked with him.
Yeah.
And I work for the same company as what he does. And I've interviewed him like once, and he was as nice as you could possibly be.
Yeah.
And everybody sits there, and it's the one question, being in radio, people go, have you met Kyle? And it's like, I've never met him. But what you hear of his persona is not who he actually is.
Look, we all have a brand. And when you have a name as big as Kyle's is in Australia, and he's known as a shock jock or whatever, if he all of a sudden starts being sweet, he's going to lose his
brand's
audience,
gone,
right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So as much as like there have been things that he's done that maybe he shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
I've only ever had good experiences with him. But going back to mental health and shit.
Yes. Just go back there. Screw you, Kyle. You're out. Sideways.
Don't say that. We want to get him on the show.
The thing for me that made me realize that like what was happening was a little bigger than me was literally I would get hundreds of messages a day about the way that this city was helping people get through the pandemic. And that was both a blessing and a curse, because on one hand it was amazing to hear these people's stories, but on the other, my inbox was a place for people to come and trauma dump. And it was people all over the world who were going through serious shit.
Yeah.
And I would get messages, and I guess I'm not the type of person who would ever go into a random like artist DMs and say, hey, my mum is suffering from stage 4 cancer and we can't get into a hospital because of COVID and she's going to die, but your song is giving me peace.
Yeah.
And, I was so unprotected from all of that, and there was no one running my socials but me, and I was trying to answer everything, and it just got to the point where like I couldn't open my inbox anymore, and my management, or rather my label, people there were like, hey, listen, you need to protect yourself now. Like it's a lot. And what cause they can see the messages that come in.
Yeah.
They were like, you should just don't open it anymore because it's overwhelming you clearly. And cause I would talk about it every conversation I had with the label. I was like, oh my God, this person messaged me this whole thing. And so I had to like, I'll be on there like playing therapist. I don't know shit.
and taking some of it on too, right? Because that's going to, you absorb that energy, right? When you read that type of stuff.
You do. And look, like, I think it's hard when, fans kind of create this kind of parasocial relationship with artists who create music that gives words to what people are going through, and maybe they haven't found a way to say it, what they're going through themselves.
Yeah.
But I was not equipped.
Could you imagine being somebody on the Taylor Swift end of fame and what she would get? I mean, obviously she doesn't answer her 126 million responses a day, but
I mean, that's the other thing is I think, I'm always very acutely aware that my inbox is not a scratch on what kind of any female artist, I've got there are a lot of amazing female artists that I'm very close with who don't open their inboxes because it's full of just absolute fucking creeps.
Well, Demi Lovato was one of them that had to step away from it all.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I put up one TikTok of Demi and I singing backstage at Ellen, and like the TikTok took the fuck off. But if you look at all the comments, it's all talking about drugs and like,
and her weight and all this kind of shit. I know.
That was really crazy to work with Demi and to become friends with someone who so many people around the world have opinions of, and to kind of get a sense of who they actually are. And they're fucking awesome. Like, what a good soul.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was fascinating.
But that's social media too, right, though, Sam? Isn't it like with celebrities and whoever these days, the people build that connection because of social media. They feel like they know this person inside and out. But in social media, you're only showing one version of yourself, generally speaking. So they hold you to that level. And then
totally.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
Prince used to talk about Prince as if Prince wasn't him. And I'm blanking on Prince's actual name, but
Prince Rogers Nelson.
Prince Rogers Nelson, right. So
big fan, sorry.
right, cool. Love it. So he would talk about Prince like he was talking about someone else purely so that he could cope with the level of fame that he had. And there are, I'm sure, people who get to step into a character like Elton John, like I don't know, whoever has a stage name, like Alicia Keys, I'm sure that becomes a little easier to differentiate between like, I am Prince Rogers Nelson and that is Prince. For me, and for artists that use their own names, the lines get blurred a lot. And so Sam Fisher, the brand, was all of a sudden being way, way more loved on than Sam Fisher, the actual person.
Yep.
And so that was another thing to kind of like, I don't know, it was a bit of a challenge. But it's not, this isn't like a woe is me story. Like I know I'm very lucky.
No, for sure.
But it's not coming across as that.
And I mean, it's good for us. I mean, it's good for people like you to talk about because, like you say, everyone thinks once you hit a certain level of success, you've got radio hits, money would start flowing, and people think that's just the key to happiness. And that's all I need to be happy. But it's not actually the case because all the money in the world, all the fame in the world, is not going to give you the happiness because you've still got trauma from childhood that is still there or whatever.
Yeah,
and also things don't give you the mental headspace that you need.
Totally. And also having a hit through the pandemic, money is not flowing in, fame is not flowing in. This city now, that bitch is an A-lister. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this city can go around the world and like be celebrated. I am now playing catch up because I wasn't able to travel with this city.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm currently like shacked up in my mother-in-law's basement. Like I'm not living some glamorous life. I thought when I was growing up, I would stand on Town Hall Station in Sydney, and they always had the screens there and they'd always play music videos and they would have songs blasting out the speakers. And I was always like, man, I wonder what kind of lives the people who get to have their songs played here are living. And
they get to spend it in their parent-in-law basement.
I mean? Well, I remember
talking to two dickheads in Australia.
You know, like my mate texted me and was like, "Yo, I'm standing on Town Hall Station. Your song's playing. This is crazy." And I was like, "Oh, that's my dream."
Yeah. What next?
Here I am.
Where were you when you
always
got that
imagined
call?
it more than this.
Yeah. Where was I? I was stoned in my apartment in LA, sitting in like my underwear and like wondering like what the hell I was doing with my life.
Brown Park.
Hey, I've got a TV appearance today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, I'm not going to be too concerned about my hairline. On Daddy, how good's this?
All thanks to Grow Clinics.
I'll be sitting in front of that camera, not worrying about my hairline and looking at it and overanalyzing it. So thanks to Grow Clinics for restoring my hairline.
I remember that time of my life when I would look at my hairline and just literally get product and try and cover up the bald patches so that I didn't look as bad as what was actually really going on. And then you look back at photos and you go, yeah, they couldn't hide that.
You weren't fooling anybody, and you would always zoom in on it too, wouldn't you? You'd like, oh,
yeah.
I don't think it's getting any worse. But
hair growth is stronger with Grow, and whether you want to stop hair loss, you can regrow your hair or maintain strong hair growth, they've got the right solution for you. They are Australia's most trusted hair loss specialists. You may want to stop your hair from falling out or restore what you've got, or just get what you've got and make it look healthy.
So head over to growclinics.com.au and have a look at their website. You can even book a online consultation and you can find out the next steps.
Yep, and take the Grow quiz. You can answer 3 simple questions and they'll match you with the most suitable hair loss solution for you. Good luck on your TV appearance. I bet you're going to style that bouffant right up.
I'm thinking I might go a mohawk or something like that. I'm not going to.
growclinics.com.au.
The Brown Podcast.
How are things now? You just said you're playing catch up. Is it getting? Are you able to celebrate the success now, or does being in your parents' in-law basement prohibit that a little bit?
Nah, I just finished a European tour, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that my idea of success has changed. And I think, it was very driven into me as a kid and growing up that success meant money, or rather money equaled success. Yeah. And so if I had a shit ton of money, then I was successful. And I think success now to me is finding a way to work to live instead of live to work.
Yeah.
And enjoying life a bit and like being happy. And look, I'm desperate to get home. Like whenever I come to Australia, it feels like I'm legit and it's amazing. Yeah. I have like, I don't know, I'm friends with people that I never thought I'd be friends with. And I've worked with like Guy Sebastian, and I'm friends with Delta, and I'm friends with fucking Ricky Lee, and I text with fucking Smolsey and Kyle. Like it's a different life, and like it's not like a real life.
Yeah,
it's totally like this strange facade. But look, getting picked up in a black car and being taken somewhere where you've sold out a venue is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, I bet.
So there are definitely times when I get to celebrate it, and this city's still going. It's still doing numbers that I've never thought possible. But I think for me, I've just gone through a lot of change. I've just gotten a new management, and I've moved out of the city that I was in for the last 10 years. And I'm like, you know, my album is done, but it's not out yet. And I'm excited about this song I have with Meghan Trainor right now. But, you know, I haven't got to tour. I think for me, like, my favorite thing about being an artist is getting to tour and play shows and meet fans.
Yeah.
And I haven't got to do that yet on a major scale. And so once that happens, at least I hope, I'm telling myself that I'll be happy then.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
is
when
like,
you're commanding those crowds, when you're, you know, when it's all focused on you, you'll be gold. You'll be gold then.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole world knows who the guy am. No, but you know, I've just changed therapists as well, and she's incredible. And I'm really working on just enjoying life a bit and or a bit more, and just kind of focusing and focusing on people that bring me joy and getting rid of people who don't in my life. But yeah, there's a lot of work to be done on the old noggin.
Yeah.
It's never ending.
It's never ending. And like, I don't know, all my songs end up being about the relationship I have with myself. So,
But I have this theory that when my kids turn 18, I'm going to just book them therapy sessions and go, there you go. I'm going to set you off on the right foot. Just go and tell a therapist everything I did wrong and get it out of your system now.
Mate, you know what? I think all of us should be assigned a therapist at birth.
Yeah, look, no, it's true. It's true.
It is true.
Because you deal with so much in your own head, and we don't come with our own manual, right? So if we gave kids or therapists through school, I mean, I'm sure there's therapists accessible, but if we made it mandatory, you have to go talk to a therapist and just speak. Even if you've got nothing to say, just be there with someone.
Just be there. I'm also stealing what you just said for a song. Absolutely. We don't have a manual to ourselves.
Yeah.
Dion, come on, mate.
There we go. Oh, look, Sam, I wait for the royalties in the mail.
That was a gift, Dion.
It was definitely a gift, mate. Take it and run. But hey, I just want to touch on something. You started something. I made a note here that you started something called Never Delivered.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
The Never Delivered series. So I have a song called You Don't Call Me Anymore. And that song is about a friend of mine who I had lost touch with. But when we were close, we were thick as thieves. We were super close. And she was someone who was very important to me when I first moved to LA. And, you know, nothing happened. We just kind of just stopped talking. And that's, I think, a very human part of life. And I'm sure we all have people in our lives who at one point, you know, you meet them, you're like, you're in my tribe. I want to hang out with you every day.
Yeah.
And then you stop talking for no good reason.
For no reason. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It just happens. It sucks, but it happens. And I found out one day on social media that she had passed away, and she had taken her own life. And it made me think of like, what was the last time I saw her? What was the last thing I said to her? And so the Never Delivered series is really just a place for people to be able to say those things, be able to scream into the void. And it's a totally anonymous, a thing where every month I send out a question or two or three questions, and people can either answer one, all of them, whatever, and just get off their chest something that they want to say to someone, something that they want to say to themselves, something they want to admit. I think loneliness is something that is terrorizing the world right now.
Absolutely.
Post-pandemic, absolutely. And I think people are struggling with how to not be lonely even while around other people. And it's, I don't know. I'm just trying to give people a place where they can say what they want to say without anyone judging anything.
Yeah.
And, though my team and we get the responses, it's totally anonymous. And I think, I share a couple of them. The ones that I think, they're all beautiful, but just the ones that really hit me hard, and I always figure, you know, nothing I have ever felt is unique. And so if one of, you know, if these responses speak to me in a way, I always want to share them and honor them. But it's not about me. It's not about anything to do with my social media. It's all about, I don't know, the people who the Never Delivered series helps, I guess, people that it reaches. Yeah, it's just, honestly, that whole thing could have been put into, it's a place for people to scream into the void. And
No, but see, I mean, it's good to give context to it, because it's so much better. I mean, what you're doing in that space is great, where people can they can get it out rather than sitting on it. And there's some power in releasing how you're feeling. And maybe talking to that person that you didn't get to say goodbye to, or whatever. So I love it. I think it's an excellent platform that you've done there.
And it would provide great fodder for songs, wouldn't it?
You know, you'd think so. I don't. I don't. I mean, it might, but I don't. I don't want to. I don't know. I think it's something that I just want to let be its own thing. I think for me, do you remember the books that the Truth Secret?
Post Secret.
Maybe. Post Secret books. It was basically Post Secret. I'm not sure how they collected all these things, but it was a collection of messages that people had written, and some of them were like admissions, some of them were goodbye messages to, like, you know, for example, there was someone who there were like confessions of crimes, there were confessions of people. There were people coming out. There were people talking about, I don't know, religion in a way that, you know, saying like, I grew up in the church, but I don't believe in it, and I'm gay, and I'm this, and I'm that. And it was totally anonymous, and they set it out in this book in this beautifully curated way. And it was just so powerful to me. And I was like, I really want to do something like that. And so I would love to create a coffee table book like that, where it's these messages, and partner with, you know, an artist, a graphic artist who can maybe, I know, illustrate some of the things that people are saying and have that represented there. And, but for now, it's just a website.
I mean, I love that too, because if you did something like that, like I say again, there's power when people read something that they may be going through at the same time, and it's like, I'm not the only one. So there's a connection piece there, for sure.
And it's the same way as the music would connect with people too.
100%. 100%. I mean, any artistic medium, people will find a way to connect with it. And I don't know. I just want to. I never set out to be like the mental health artist, you know. That was like so far from what I wanted to be. I wanted my music to provide a distraction to the fact that I was kind of loose mentally. But it, I write about what I feel. I write about what I know, and I went through some heavy shit. And like I said, nothing I feel is unique. And whenever I feel alone in a feeling, I'll write a song about it, and I'll put that out, and then thousands of people around the world are like, fuck, that's me too. And I'm like, I thought it was just me, motherfucker. So,
this is my unique feeling. I'm the only one in the world.
What the fuck?
Right?
I know, right?
This is mine.
I think you just came up with another song title, My Unique Feeling.
Is not so unique.
Maybe that's the title of my album. No, actually, the title of my album is I Love You, Please Don't Hate Me.
Oh,
When's
really?
that come out? When's that due out?
Soon. And it's within the next year. But it's like me talking to myself. It's like, you know, when you have conversations with yourself in the mirror and you're like, I love you, please don't hate me, but this is all the shit that I've done. And then all the shit that I've experienced is what people hear in the songs throughout the album.
One quick question and then we'll let you go.
You're fine.
If you've got an album coming out that you're sitting on, you often hear other artists go, I just want to put it out. I'm sitting on it. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
That's mentally challenging?
Well, this city came out in like 1875. And you know what I mean? Like, it's about damn time if I can quote Lizzo for one hot second. Yeah, of course I want my album out. I wanted it out a year ago. But it wasn't ready a year ago, and it is ready now. It's done. It's completely done. But there are steps that need to be taken to get to that point. And, you know, I work with an amazing crew of people at the labels, and, you know, everyone at Sony across the world that I work with, especially Australia and UK, like, have been fantastic with me, and we've obviously had a lot of success. But I think putting out an album is another beast, and it's I want it to do well, and I want to set it up right, and I want people to support it, and, you know, like,
and stream it in its billions.
Stream it in its motherfucking billions. You know, this city's up there, but I'm not going to sit here and say I'm in this because I love doing the art. I do love doing the art. I also want to make some money. I also want to be able to, like, live my life. You know, I'm not going to be able to do this until I'm 80 years old. Maybe I will.
Maybe you will. Who knows?
But exactly. But it's, you know, I'm really, really fucking proud of my album, and it sounds incredible. There are some songs on there that reveal some pretty heavy stuff, but then there's some bops, and there are some love songs, and, you know, I also have couple collabs coming out. So
awesome.
There's going to be a lot to kind of tie us over until this album is out.
And look, so there's two things here, right? So with an album like that, and there's a saying in the corporate world that you only get to start once. So I assume you put all this time into an album, you need to make sure you drop it properly, because you only get to drop it once, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second thing here, you're giving Christo a lot of hope, because he's dropped a couple of songs a couple of years ago. So,
Come on.
I want to say to you, if this city took so long, there is still an opportunity for you, brother.
Thank you.
Right. There's always hope. There's always
Love
hope.
it.
Yeah.
I've just realized that I'm wearing my shirt backwards. So there's that. That's my mental state.
But that's a good luck thing, Sam. Just there you go. There you go. And so, I mean, I guess also, if you want to take something out of this podcast, if you're struggling, get into therapy, because the earlier you do it, the better it's going to be, right?
You know what? The hardest part about therapy is finding a therapist.
Yeah, to connect with. Absolutely.
You know?
Yep.
It's so overwhelming. But once you do, it's just so nice to talk to someone who's impartial.
And it's not going to report it back to your partner.
And that will call you out in the bullshit too.
I know, you know, exactly. I will say my therapist now, who is incredible, she knew who I was when she saw my email asking if she would be my therapist. And at first I was like, I don't know if I want to reveal all my deep dark secrets to someone who, like,
this is confidential, right?
I was like, nah, are you a fan? But no, she's fantastic. But go into therapy. Also, like, if you need to be medicated, go and get medication. Like, there's, you know, I think it's nice. I feel like the music industry is trending towards, I hate the word trending, but I guess
as somebody who's trended,
you know, like the normalization of mental health talk is good.
Yep.
I am cautious of it just becoming a trend, because I feel like every artist now is like, take care of your mental health, and which is fantastic that they're preaching it. I just don't want it to be like a bandwagon thing.
Yeah, that's right. As long as it's done for the right reasons. Like,
of course, absolutely. And that's, you know, I really loved the premise of your guys' podcast, and I listened to some episodes, and the way that you have conversations is fantastic. And I was like, I absolutely want to be a part of that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That means
of course. I mean, like, it's important what you guys are doing.
Because I'd never spoken into a microphone before we started this, and it was the most nerve-wracking thing for me in the world. I mean, I was getting more comfortable with it now. And it was funny because when I've always pushed Christo out of his comfort zone, and then all of a sudden he said, let's start this podcast. I'm like, whoa, fuck you, bro. I'm pushing you. You're not pushing me.
But so he's been, for want of a better word, my pusher as far as friendships goes.
Yeah.
He goes, all right, well, we're going to go and do this, and we're going to go and climb a mountain. And you love music, so why the fuck are you not working on it? Why are you not doing stuff? Why are you? So I'm like, come and do a podcast and speak into a microphone, motherfucker.
That's great. I love that. I love that you have someone like that.
Yeah,
that you have each other. It's definitely important to keep talking about mental health, really just to normalize it for, I guess, people who aren't, I don't know, nuts like me in the entertainment industry.
And then on
Just wanna have a
the
good
on that
time.
medication front too, like it's funny you say that, because there is still quite the almost
Stigma.
negative stigma. That's it. Around going to the doctor and jumping on medication, because whilst the conversation about mental health is gaining momentum, the talk about being medicated is there's still that stigma around it where, oh, I can't do that. I've heard they're bad, or they're going to make me feel numb. There's so much in that.
I just say to people, you don't want to see me when I'm not on my meds, so just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to each their own. You know, it's if you want to get medicated, go get medicated. I think the judgment of it. I think one thing that I've really tried to remind myself of is that no one is thinking that much about you.
No, that's
right.
You're the only one thinking that much about yourself. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you think about, oh, if I did this, what will people think? People aren't going to fucking think about you. No. I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
They're going to move on. They're going home. They're not thinking about Christopher being on medication or whatever. Yeah. No.
Do what you need to do to make yourself happy and keep it pushing.
I have one more very short question for you.
Go on.
Worst moment in your music career from like a management or some sort of dickhead that's tried to, because you touch on it at the start, and I'm always curious because there's always those charlatans that
what did I say?
Come out and try and get you.
Oh man, I've got so many. I'll give you there's so many. I got called fat a lot by the president of my first record label, and he made fun of my hair because it was thinning because of stress, and I ended up getting a hair transplant.
Hey, we did too.
Hey, we both did too.
Both of us were bald before.
Come on,
go.
Really?
Yes.
Man, where did you guys go? Because
we went to Grow Clinics, the sponsor of our podcast. Funny enough.
Okay,
Grow Clinics. I went to Bosley in the States, and I need to go get another one, but it's did that. Got called fat a lot and ended up dropping like 30 pounds. Was super terrifying for a bit. And then what else? I had a manager. I stopped working with him, and then when the city took off, he came after me for $30,000. I've recently
that guy. The initial guy that we spoke about earlier?
No. It was
not that one. Another one.
It was a manager that I had while I was signed to that guy.
Right.
And he was great. It was just a terrible situation at the end of it. And then, you know, I went through some bullshit recently with a manager, and that's why I've changed management. And it's management is a very selfless job, and when you are working with someone who you kind of discover is a little more self-serving, then you recognize that hurts a lot. But yeah, being used. There was a blow up in I'm telling you all of them. There was a blow up in a studio. I'd written a song about my dad that will never see the light of day, but this is good actually. He wanted to work on it. This dude wanted to work on it. It was this label head guy wanted to work on it, and I was like, no, can't touch it. Like, this song's about my dad. It's super fucking personal. It's done.
It's just therapy. Yeah.
And he said to me, yeah, you need to take the emotion out of it because this is business now. And if you don't change it to the way I want it, then I'm not going to send it to radio. And I was like, well, fuck it, don't send it to radio then.
Yeah, whatever, bro.
And we ended up getting into a big old biff in the studio and yelling at each other. And I like snapped. I never snap. I don't yell. Who the fuck yells? And he like slams his laptop down, turns to the producer, and he's like, have a good night. Turns to me, just stares at me, then leaves, and then unfollows me on Instagram, and then doesn't talk to me for 3 months. And I was signed to him for 4 albums. So
far out.
If he, you know, and then, yeah, That happened. I got dropped while I was like high off my fucking ass. That was weird.
That's weird. What a minute. Is this really happening? But I'm okay with it in this moment.
It was fucked up, but yeah, that happened.
Okay, I was asking for a short answer, but you've got so many fucking stories. You should write a book.
Yeah.
You've got one more. What is it? What is it?
A once in a generation pandemic crushed the biggest moment I've worked my entire life for. Other than that, I'm straight.
Let's touch on one thing that you said in all of that: the ultimate act of aggression. To unfollow somebody on social media.
Yeah, right.
Petty. What the fuck is that?
That's passive aggressive at its best.
It sent me into a deep spiral.
Yeah, could imagine.
Far out. So the easiest part of what you do is writing the music. The hardest part is the business side of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Social media, man.
Yeah.
But hey, it's all right.
Good.
Sam Fisher.
You're a legend.
You're a legend. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me on. This was so fun.
It was good fun.
It's weird to say. It's weird to say that thinking about everything we covered, but it was. We had a good chat.
We did. And when you get out to Australia, we're going to come and see you. So it'll be fabulous.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Good one.
Best of luck with the new song. Best of luck with the album when it comes out. I have no doubt it will be fantastic, and I hope you get to fly first class all over the world.
And if you have a mental breakdown, where better to do it than in first class on Emirates?
Yeah.
I'll make sure it's there while on this podcast with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Good job, brother.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much, man.
Thanks for being so open, man. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Brown Park.
Can I tell you, it's very hard when you've got somebody with musical capability like that on the show. And all I wanted to do was like, can I play you my song? I just want you to hear my song. You know what I mean? And
I was watching you. I thought he's going to sit there going, he's going to ask if I can send you my music.
Nah, I'm not going to be that unprofessional, but I'm sitting there going, you're so talented. Would you sing on one of my songs? and I'm like, and I'm just never going to do that to the poor guy.
I would have virtually slapped you in the face.
Oh, I would have virtually slapped myself in the face. Don't worry. Look, check everything out. We put all the show note in the show notes to this podcast are the links to Sam Fisher, the website that you were talking about as well. And look, go and listen to his music because he's seriously got a sensational voice. You probably already know this city, but his new song is fantastic as well. The stuff he did with the song he did with Amy Shark, I just loved. And after having listened to it, he sounds like just the nicest guy.
How good is it that he was just so open and vulnerable? Love it.
Yeah.
And, props to him.
Yep. And also go to our website, brownpark.com.au.
And also a massive thanks to our sponsors, Grow Clinics. You can find them at growclinics.com.au.
And all the show notes will have all of that in it as well. We will see you next episode.
Scratch you later.
Why are you happy?
It's cold.